In June 2020, Marcus Rashford penned a letter to the government resulting in a commitment to continuing free school meals for children in low-income families over the summer. He drew attention to the hardship that children in poor families, even those in working families, face.
When you were growing up, do you remember being hungry?
Yeah, of course. I just knew how hard that my mum was working. I'd never moan, I'd never do anything. If there's food on the table, there's food on the table. If there's not, I had friends that understood my same situation.
Covid, with its economic impacts, has heightened these challenges for poorer families. Since March, some families have lost their main worker, others are trying to combine work and homeschooling, some parents have become sick or are caring for others.
Minority ethnic groups, particularly the Pakistani, Bangladeshi and Black African communities, are more likely to live in families with dependent children in the first place, putting them more at risk of impacts of the coronavirus crisis on family poverty.
Minority ethnic families are also more likely to have lost hours, work and income, often of the sole breadwinner. This raises long-term concerns for these children's futures.
In addition, the risks of child poverty already differed substantially by ethnic group before 2020. While they declined over the first part of the 21st century, they were already increasing again prior to the Covid-19 crisis.
We see that poverty rates for Black Africans and Black Caribbeans were nearly twice those of white British before the crisis, while Pakistani and Bangladeshi child poverty rates were more than double those of white British.
Minority ethnic children make up a quarter of all children under 16, but nearly a third of children in poverty.
There's also evidence that food bank use has increased, particularly among families with children.
There has also been a direct impact on the mental health of children and young people. 43% of young people say that anxiety levels have increased due to the pandemic, and a third say they are overwhelmed by feelings of panic and anxiety on a daily basis. The impact of child poverty on minority ethnic communities manifests in racialized attainment gaps later in life. In UK higher education, this is 13% for minority ethnic communities compared to their white British counterparts. And with the pronounced impact of COVID on existing fault lines of inequality, we run the risk of losing a generation's worth of progress.
Even if it has been made worse by coronavirus, the risks of child poverty in the UK were already high for minority ethnic families. For these children to fulfil their potential requires that policymakers invest in families with children. This can in part be through child-focused measures such as the child benefit, but it also has to involve providing adequate safety nets for parents, both when in work and out of work, through adequate wages and benefits.
In the longer term, addressing income and employment vulnerability of ethnic minority workers, whether caused by occupational concentration, discrimination, or lack of opportunity, will reduce risks of their children going hungry in general, and especially when crises such as the current one arise.